Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're continuing our examination of friendship in Book 8, where we examine Chapter 4 today. So let's turn to it. This friendship, remember he talked about three friendships, and that of too pleasant and the useful are kind of incomplete. They're not really they're kind of incidental friendship, and only the friendship of the good is the one that is the real friendship, the friends for themselves in that sense. So therefore, this final friendship, this friendship then is complete in regard both to time and the remaining considerations, namely the good and the pleasure. The good and the and pleasure in that sense. And in every respect, each friend comes to possess from each other the same or similar things, which is just what ought to be the case with friends. So therefore, the friendship was complete and good, and that is the good with pleasure. That's weird because this is why he brings pleasure in here. This namely the good with pleasure. I think that's we should know. I'd bracket that out and ignore that. This is just something he adds considerations, and in every respect, friends coming to possess the other things, that is both pleasure and usefulness, or similar things, that which is just what ought to be the case with friends. Friendship based on what is pleasant bears resemblance to this one, right? This is the pleasant, that's the resemblance to this one. For in fact, the good are pleasant to one another as well. Similarly, too, in the case based on utility, for the good are useful to one another. But among those who seek pleasure or utility, friendship endures especially whenever each obtain the same thing from the other. For example, pleasure, and not only this, but whenever it comes from the same type, as an example for example, those who are witty, and not in the case of the lover and the beloved, right? The term lover and beloved here is based on eros, the erates and the eremos. It is the lover and the love. This is the erotic lover and the beloved. This is not that. They want something. The witty person wants who enjoys the pleasure of the wit, the pleasure of the wit. It's not the same as the one who desires and be desired back in that sense. This is in that sense, right? The lover and the beloved, the erotic, the erotes and the eromanos. For the lover and the beloved are not pleased by the same things. Rather, the lover is pleased by seeing the beloved, and the beloved by being attracted to by his lover. Okay, so there I see that one, and the other one is attracted to the person I love. Okay, in other words, that uh, uh, um, for the lover and the beloved is not the same as this utility by pleasure. As Rather, the lover is pleased by seeing the beloved, and the beloved by being attended to. I love this one, and this one is doing it. They're attended to. That they're being attended to by the lover. And sometimes, when the bloom of youth fades, so too the friendship fades. Since for the lover, the sight of the lover is no longer pleasant. Is not is Of the other is not pleasant, and for the beloved, the intention is of the lover is no more in that sense. So therefore, the youthful thing, the first thing. This is why erotic love. This is the argument of why erotic love after time dies, right? Because the bloom of it, the new of it, the new of it, and therefore and because of that, the care dies with it. The return of the care dies with it, right? Because the care by the beloved dies in that sense. This is why it's not enough in that sense. This is why the newness of it, the youth of it, the newness of it dies. Many in turn do remain friends. However, when, as the result of their living together, they feel affection for their characters, if they are of the same character. Okay, so in other words, what happens? He says that, well, this, what can happen is that passion happens, but what happens after they've been living together for a while, they get used to the other character. They feel affection for their characters, and if they are the same, in other words, if they have the character that the person respects, or they share the character in that sense, they share the same character. They're able to work together. They are, and therefore that they have. In other words, there's something that holds them together, that sharedness in that sense. Um, so many in due turn remain friends. This passionate friendship, because why as a result of living together, they feel affection for their characters, and if they are the same character. But in the cases of lovers whose mutual exchange is not for pleasure, but for utility, they are and remain friends to a lesser degree. So therefore, the lesser degree is that okay, they're associates. In other words, in case of love, but in case of lovers whose mutual exchange is not pleasure but utility, they associated not by use, right? But they to this, and those who are friends on account of utility dissolve the friendship at the same time as the advantage ceases, for they were friends not to each other but to the profit involved. So therefore, this is this. In other words, but in case of lovers whose mutual exchange, in other words, they lovers who this, but utility. They are and remain friends in this. They're friends in a lesser degree. And what happens is, when the utility ceases, the friendship ceases. For they were friends not to each other, but for the benefit that were involved. Now, this is the famous thing in Axelrod. I would point to Axelrod's famous Robert Axelrod's Evolution of Cooperation is that he argues that mutual exchange over time, the constant exchange builds something more. So it's not utility. The question is, it has to be something more than utility, and it has to be affection that is not based on utility, but for what? Okay, that I lived, where they start living together or sharing a life together over time, that they see each other more than mere utility, but something else. Maybe see the other characters. In other words, they evolve. In other words, what the real working of the logic is the evolution from a utility friendship. So the answer in response, the problem with the pure game theory of Axelrod is Axelrod doesn't really show us that if it was based on pure, if it was only based on, Aristotle would say, if it was only based on utility, once the utility seeks, then the relationship breaks down. So that this has to be something that the evolution is a moving from pure utility to something more, maybe pleasure, and then from pleasure to shared character, right? In the case of pleasure and utility, then, it is possible even for the base to be friends with one another, and for decent, and for the decent to be friends with the base, as well as for those who are neither decent nor base to be friends with any sort whatever. So therefore, these lesser things of utility and pleasure, you don't have to be a good person. You can be, in other words, base people can be. This can happen. The utility and pleasure based relationships can happen for whether you're base or good, and that or neither, and that's that they're neither for those who are neither base nor decent to be friends, right? So therefore, or with any sort whatever. So therefore, it doesn't matter. These kind of relationships doesn't matter. Yet it is clear that only the good can be friends on account of whom they themselves are. So therefore, this idea that the utility base is, remember, this is you're not, it's not friendship in the pure sense. It's friendship for the benefit of the thing you get, pleasure or utility. Therefore, it doesn't matter the pleasure, as long as you get the pleasure and you get the utility from the relationship, then the relationship maintains. And if it's reciprocal in that sense, if it doesn't become reciprocal, then it breaks down, right? Now the next stage is that, but this these, but you know, this next stage is that, well, wait a minute, only the good friend. It is clear only the good can be friends on account of who they are. For those who are bad do not delight in one another. Okay, this is interesting. In themselves, or perhaps in themselves, one another, or themselves, it could be one another or themselves, unless some benefit should accrue them. In other words, some usefulness, something good, something, some utility, some benefit should accrue them. In other words, for those who are bad do not delight in one another, but only if there's some utility that's happening because of it. Moreover, only the friendship of the good is secure against slander. For it is not easy to trust anyone when it comes to slander about someone who has been tested by oneself over a long time. And in the case of these people, one finds such statements as, I trust him, and he would never commit injustice, and all those other things deemed worthy of true friendship. In other words, that once you know their character, you know who they, you know who they are, you know what they are. The mere slander, mere opinion, the slander lies about somebody, character. Is, no, I know them. In other words, if I know them, in other words, the friend will know, cannot be challenged by slander. True friends are, that the song is that in tough times, you know who your really friends are, or when you're being attacked, is that when people's reputations, well, they're not your real friends under their character. They're maybe the friends because they think you're useful to them. Okay. The friends of utility and friends of pleasure can be easily destroyed by slander. But the real friendship based on good character, cannot be, because you know them. You know them. You say when it comes to slander, where someone has been tested by oneself over a long time, right? In the case of the other sort of friendship, there's nothing to prevent such bad things from arising. That's it. Now, since human beings call friends both those who are friendly on account of utility involved, as in the case of cities, for alliances struck by cities seem to be for the sake of what is advantageous, right? As in the case of cities, for alliances are struck by cities seem to be for the sake of advantageous. And those who feel affection for one another on account of pleasure, in the case of children, right? Perhaps we ought to say that these sorts of people are friends, but but that there is more than one form of friendship, and that the friendship of the good human being, friendship of good human beings, insofar as they are good, is friendship in the primary and the ruling sense, and the remaining friendships being such only by way of resemblance. Okay, therefore they resemble this true and authoritative friendship in that sense. This is in other words, that people who are good, that they form a friendship, and the friendship of good human beings, insofar as they're good, is friendship in the primary and ruling sense, and the remaining ones are just resemblance. Insofar as there is some good involved and some likeness. Here, in what immediately follows, commentators often disagree about the nature of likeness. Is likeness to one another in respect to which they love, or is it to complete friendship? In that, insofar as the friendship is like the friendship of the good. See, that's why there is the problem. The same likeness, they are friends. So therefore, this is this double meaning, this double possibility here. That is the likeness towards that this friendship, this form of friendship to the true friendship, or the likeness between the people to each other. Right? There is the double meaning and double possibility here in the Greek. And that the friendship is of good human beings insofar as they're good. The friendship is primary and authoritative or ruling. The remaining friendship being such as a way of resemblance. For insofar as there is some good involved and some likeness, they are friends, right? So therefore, the question is, there's some good involved, and some benefit of good involved, and some lightness, whether lightness towards the good or lightness towards each other. I think it's maybe lightness towards each other, right? Um, uh, uh, and in fact, what is pleasant is the good. And in fact, what is pleasant is the good for the lover of pleasure, right? So therefore, the lover of pleasure, his good is pleasant, the pleasant, right? But these kind of friendships do not often go together. And those who become friends on account of utility are not the same as those who do so on account of pleasure. For incidental things are not often yoked together. Okay, so therefore that's the interesting point, that there is an in connection here, something. In other words, that I'm doing it for pleasure, but the other person is doing it for utility. There's something. This is not going to be reciprocal in that sense. There's going to be a problem there. It's not going to last or that sense. These kind of friendships do not often go together. They can go together, but they don't often go together. And those who become friends on account of utility are not the same as those who do so on account of friends. For instance, he says that incidental things are not often, but they may be. We can see a situation where someone likes somebody for their pleasure, and the other person does it for the benefit of that person. In other words, they don't get pleasure from, but the person's rich and can give them good things. So therefore, they get the good things. As long as they get the good things, they will give the rich person his pleasure. Right? That is the weird aspect of this. It's rare. In other words, it doesn't work well together. It is not a perfect logic. Given that these are the forms in which friendship has been divided, base people will be friends on account of what is pleasant or useful to them, since it is in this respect they are alike. Whereas the good will be friends on account of who they simply are themselves, that they are good. So again, remember that the base people are going to be beneficial because they get pleasure or utility from the person that they're friends with, and vice versa. The reciprocal relationship is some pleasure or some verse base. Okay, be there base or good, or the relationship is based on pleasure and utility. That you can have the people, the not good people, the base people, or not good people. But if they're good, then that's not possible. Since in respect to they are alike, whereas the good will be friends on account of who they simply are, in that they're good. The latter then are friends simply, where the former are friends incidentally, and only by the resembling the later that to the other friend. Okay, in other words, the utility-based and pleasure thinkers, there's an incidentally. There's in other words, they're not friends in themselves. They love they're friends incidentally. The incident is the person is the pleasure or benefit I get from being with that person, from that person. Um, and therefore they resemble this truer friendship of the good character. So let's stop here. If you have any more comments or questions, please put them below. If you have some issues or want some clarification, please put them below, and I will respond to them when I see them. If you've liked it, hit the like button, like it, hit the thumbs up, share it on your social media, share it far and wide, share it with your friends. If you've not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It helps grow the channel. It helps the algorithm, as sharing does also. Another thing you can do is, if you didn't like it, okay, you can always thumbs down it, but say why in the comments so we can benefit. People can benefit from it. This is the purpose of why I'm doing these videos. Next, but not least of all, the thing you can do is, you want to follow me on social media, you can do so by looking down there, and you can see the links to my social media links. If you want to know more about me as a scholar, or check out my research and check what I do as a scholar, and check out my scholarship and things like that, you can do so through the academic social media links that are below the social media links. And if you want to financially help what I do, can help contribute to You can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar. The link or the URL is below. Or another way you can do so, you can buy one of my books. The listed below are the three books currently available. You can order the books either at your local bookstore or through an online bookseller such as Barnes& and Noble or Amazon or whatever, Libris or whatever service that you use or are able to. Another thing you can do is or buy the publishers themselves. Go directly to the publisher themselves. Well, that's it for now. We'll continue next on chapter 5 next time we meet. So take care and have a great day. Bye.